Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the eighth lecture of the course Calculus and ODEs. In today's lecture, we will discuss power series. So, let us define a power series. So, to define a power series, consider the powers of x. So, we have x to the power 0, then x to the power 1, then x to the power 2, and we keep on going like this. So, the idea is to combine these powers of x. So how do we combine them? So we multiply these powers of x with some constants and then add them up to make a power series. So multiply this 1 by some constant c naught, then multiply x with c1, x square with c2, and we keep on going like this, and we're going to multiply x to the power n with cn, and then we're going to add them up to form an infinite series in terms of powers of x. So we have this series c0 plus c1x plus c2x square, plus we keep on going like this into cn into x to the power n, plus again we keep on going like this. So this is again an infinite series in the increasing powers of x. We also call this as an infinite polynomial, right? So we call this as infinite polynomial, or we call it as a power series, because we are writing it in the terms of increasing powers of x, where x is some variable. We could take y, we could take z, right? So this is how we have constructed a power series. Now the question is, why we're going to study power series, and what are its usefulness. So the thing is, now that you have already studied this series, right? You know about this series. This is also an infinite series where you considered the series of numbers as in some constants. Now we have introduced a variable x in here, right? So now that we know how to study, now that we know how to test infinite series for convergence, we can actually study infinite polynomials and test their convergence as well, right? And we are calling these polynomials as power series, right? Next thing is, often we write functions in the terms of infinite polynomial. We know that e to the power x can be expanded in the form of this polynomial, and we can write it as 1 plus x square by 2 factorial, keep on going like this, and this is for all x, right? We can write this for all values of x. Likewise, this function 1 upon 1 minus x can be represented by this power series, but here we have this condition that mod of x should be less than 1, because this is just a geometric series with common ratio x, first term 1. So this series will converge if mod of x, that is the mod of common ratio, is strictly less than 1, and it will converge to the sum a upon 1 minus r, that is 1 upon 1 minus x, right? So we have often written, or we will write, functions in the terms of infinite polynomials. So for any allowable value of x, we are not saying that every polynomial is approximating this function for all values of x. There could be some polynomials, some infinite polynomials, which holds for some specified values of x, right? So for any allowable value of x, we evaluate these infinite polynomials as an infinite sum of constants, which is basically an infinite series. The only difference is that now we have introduced a variable x in here, which can take value on some allowable range, right? Now we will also see an important application of power series, that there is a category of functions. So this is a function e to the power x, right? There is a class of functions which can be actually represented in the form of a power series. Of course, we cannot say that for every function we can write this power series expansion. No, there is a class of functions which can be represented in the form of a power series. So basically, if you want to know the behavior of that function, you can actually study the behavior of the infinite series and then conclude the things or the behavior of the function. For example, if a calculator is giving you the value of log of some number or e to the power of some, say, 5, then what is the algorithm going at the back end? Not every time. How do the calculator know that what is e to the power 5 or what is e to the power 6? You cannot feed all the values in there, and when you say e to the power 5, it will look at the list and give you the value. No, this is not happening. So for every function, for every trigonometric function or exponential function, logarithmic function, there are many algorithms known, and some of them are actually relying on this expansion only, right? So when you substitute e to the power 5, put in this value in the calculator, what it actually does is it will calculate this series up till a few terms. Depending upon how much accuracy you are wanting, it will calculate this series up to few terms and then give you the value of e to the power x. Likewise, for some other functions, say trigonometric functions, basically trigonometric functions are not very much relying on infinite polynomials. There are other algorithms also to calculate trigonometric function. So the idea is basically that when you have some function, you want to find the value or you want to see its behavior, then you could actually see the behavior of the power series corresponding to that function, or we can say we can approximate this function with this series. Suppose if I say that I will take only 6 terms till here, so I can say this polynomial is basically an approximation for this function, because if you want to find e to the power 5, so what you should actually do, you should substitute here x as 5, and whatever the answer would be, that will be an approximation to this value e to the power 5, right? So far what we have said, that what is a power series? A series which is in terms of increasing powers of x, where x is some variable, and we have in general represented our power series in the form of summation Cn into x to the power n, where your n varies from 0 to infinity, right? Now there are some properties of power series. Like polynomials, power series can be added, subtracted, multiplied, differentiated and integrated to give new power series, right? But we will look into it in detail, that under which circumstances you can actually integrate them or differentiate them, or under which conditions you can actually multiply two power series to get another power series, right? We will see. So let's first formally define what is a power series. A power series about x is equals to 0 is a series of the form summation n going from 0 to infinity Cn into x to the power n. So basically this series can be written this way: C0 plus C1x plus C2x square, plus we keep on going like this. So this is about x is equals to 0. We can also write a power series about x is equals to a. A is some non-zero quantity. So a power series about x is equals to a is a series of the form summation n going from 0 to infinity Cn into x minus a raised to the power n. So we have C0 plus C1 into x minus a plus C2 into x minus a whole square, and we keep on going like this. So these represent power series. This is about x is equals to 0 and this is about x is equals to a. Now these Ci's, C1, C2, C3, these are called the coefficients of the power series, and these are some constant values, and this quantity a is called the center of the power series, means about which you are writing the power series. Okay, so So far so good. This is the power series. We have defined a power series about center x is equals to 0, x is equals to a, and these ci's are the coefficients. An important application of infinite series gives a method of representing a differentiable function as an infinite sum of powers of x. As we said that there is a class of functions which can be represented in the form of a power series. Those class of functions are differentiable functions that we will see in next section. So let's see this example. So this was the power series. Taking all the coefficients, that is C0, C1, C2 up to so on, to be 1 in this equation. So this gives rise to a geometric power series. So we have summation n going from 0 to infinity x raised to the power n. Now this is a geometric series with first term 1 and common ratio x. It converges to number a upon 1 minus r, which is 1 upon 1 minus x, and it converges for mod of x less than 1. So we express this fact by writing that this infinite series is equals to this function 1 upon 1 minus x. Now till now what we were saying, we were having this infinite series in hand and we were discussing its behavior. We said that this series is gonna converge to this number for these values of x. Now let's just shift our focus. Rather than saying that this series is going to converge to this number, think of this, that this function fx can be approximated by this polynomial. This is an infinite polynomial, but I can just make it finite, a finite polynomial, and we can say that this function can be approximated by this polynomial, right? So think of the partial sums of the series. So this is the series, this is its first partial sum, then second partial sum, then third partial sum. So its partial sums are basically a polynomial. So think of the partial sums of the series on the right as polynomials that approximate the function on the left, right? So we are just changing our viewpoint now, that this function can be approximated by these polynomials, right? So you see fx is 1 upon 1 minus x. So this is the graph of fx, y is equals to 1 upon 1 minus x. Now you see y naught, the first partial sum, or you can say the zeroth partial sum here, suppose. So this is 1. The polynomial will be y naught. So let's just go through here. You see that the approximating polynomial is yn is equals to pn of x. So when n is equals to 0, we have y naught as the approximating polynomial, right? So we say we see here this is y naught. Now when you consider first two terms, you will have y1, that is p1 of x, right? So we are going till x to the power 1. So y1 is equals to 1 plus x, and this is the graph of y1 of x. Likewise, you will have y2 is equals to p2 of x, that is polynomial of degree 2. So we go till 1 plus x square. So this is p2 of x. Okay, and you see that y2 is represented with this yellow curve. So this is y2 of x. Likewise, you keep on going, and here we have y8, right? So we are going till x to the power 8. So y8 is represented by this pink one. So you see, as you are taking more and more partial sums, or as you are taking a higher degree polynomial to approximate this function, you are going closer and closer to the function, means the approximation is getting better, right? And you see, for values of x near 0, we need to take only a few terms of the series to get a good approximation. You see near here, near x is equals to 0, at x is equals to 0, the value of the function is 1, and most of the curves will give you a good approximation, right? Even the ones with lesser number of terms, say y0, y1 has only 1 plus x, still you will get good approximation for values near 0. But for values going away from 0, say towards 1, you see this is not a good approximation. This is not a good approximation, but the higher polynomial, higher degree polynomial y8 is giving you a good approximation. Okay, so far what we have discussed, we have said that now we are approximating this function with polynomials that are basically the partial sums of these series. So 0th degree polynomial, then first degree polynomial, then second degree polynomial, we are taking more number of terms, or we are just increasing the degree of the polynomial, and we see that as you take more number of terms, you will get better approximation. But for the values near the center, so this is a power series in 0, right? 0 is the center. So near the center, you see that only a few terms will give you a good approximation. But as you move toward x is equals to 1 or x is equals to minus 1, we should take more number of terms. The approximating polynomials, we are representing them as yn, which is equals to pn of x, where n is the degree of the polynomial, right? So we have y0, y1, y2, we keep on going like this. Now we see next example. See this power series, 1 minus 1 by 2 into x minus 2 plus 1 by 4 into x minus 2 whole square, and we keep on going like this, and this is the nth term of the series. So you see, this is a power series whose center is 2 and whose constants c0 is 1, coefficients c0 is 1, c1 is minus 1 by 2, c2 is 1 by 4, and cn is minus 1 by 2 raised to the power n. So we see this power series, when compared with this one, we have a and ci's, right? So again, this is a geometric series whose first term is 1 and whose common ratio is x minus 2 by 2, a negative of that. This is a common ratio, minus of x minus 2 by 2. Now, when do this geometric series converge? This geometric series converges for mod of the common ratio strictly less than 1. So when mod of x minus 2 by 2 is strictly less than 1, means x is lying between 0 to 4. So the series converges for 0 less than x less than 4, and it converges to the number a upon 1 minus r, which turns out to be 2 upon x. So what we can write, that 2 upon x is equals to this power series, or we can use this infinite series, taking finite number out of that, we can approximate this function with the help of this series, right? So let's do that. So we can say 2 upon x is this series, and this is for x lying between 0 to 4. Now the series on the right generates useful polynomial approximations of this function for values near 2, right? We are saying that this is for when you are near the center of the power series, right? As we see that as you move towards 0 and 4, you need more and more terms to approximate this function with these polynomials. So you will get a good approximation if you are near the center of the power series. So let's approximate it. Fx is equals to 2 by x. First let's approximate it with a polynomial of degree 0. So p0 of x is basically 1. So P naught of x is 1, which is represented here as this y naught is equals to 1. So this is our P naught, right? And P1 of x will be taking first two terms, 1 minus x minus 2 by 2, which turns out to be 2 minus x by 2, a polynomial of degree 1. So y1 of x is represented by this green curve in the graph. Now likewise we calculate what is P2 of x. P2 of x will be the first three terms, right? A polynomial of degree 2. So this is 1 minus 1 by 2 into x minus 2 plus 1 by 4 times x minus 2 whole square, and when you just simplify it, you have this as the second degree polynomial approximation for this function near x is equals to 2. So we have y2 is equals to this curve, which is represented by yellow, and you see that this blue is the actual graph of the function y is equals to 2 by x, that's a hyperbola. So you see that near this point 2, all of them will give you a good approximation, right? In fact, the P1, as you move from P0 to P1, you will have better approximation, and as you move from P1 to P2, you will have still better approximation, right? Let's see this example. Till now we have discussed the examples in which we actually tried to find out the polynomial approximation for a function. Now in this example we see for what values of x do the following series converge. So we will be applying all the tests that we have discussed so far. We'll try to implement them on these series. So for what values of x do the following power series converge? This is the power series given, right? Now this power series has both positive and negative terms. Call this one as un. So let minus 1 raised to the power n minus 1 into xn by n as un. Right? Now you know that the integral test, ratio test, nth root test or comparison test, all those were discussed. They were developed for the series of non-negative terms, right? So it makes sense to take the absolute value of the terms of this series. So this series is summation. We are calling this series as summation un, and we will carry out the tests on this series, that is summation of mod of un, right? Now that you have this mod of un, means you have mod of each of these terms, right? Now when you have mod of each of these terms, you can now apply the ratio test, right? Now when you apply the ratio test, the nth term of this series is mod of u of n, and the n plus 1th term of the series will be mod of un plus 1. So you take the ratio of n plus 1th term and nth term. So consider this mod of un plus 1 upon mod of un, which will be equals to, so this is the n plus 1th term derived from here. Replace your n with n plus 1. So you have minus 1 raised to the power n into x to the power n plus 1 upon n plus 1, taking mod of this whole quantity. Likewise, this is the nth term and considering mod of this quantity. So these terms, so you'll have n upon n plus 1 from here. So this n upon n plus 1 outside. We have removed the modulus because n is varying from 1 to infinity, so mod would not make any sense. And here you will have x, and you have mod of x here because x can take any value, right? We are actually looking for which values of x the series is going to converge. So this is mod of x. Now you take the limit n tending to infinity. Limit n tending to infinity, mod of un plus 1 upon mod of un will be limit n tending to infinity n upon n plus 1 into mod of x, and this limit will be equals to 1. So this quantity, the limit of this whole ratio, turns out to be mod of x. Now what was the ratio test? Ratio test said that this is our number rho, and whenever your rho is less than 1, the series converges, right? So the series, which series? Summation of mod of un, this converges for mod of x less than 1, right? Now this series, the series of absolute terms, converges for mod of x less than 1. So we can say that the series converges absolutely for mod of x less than 1. And if the series converges absolutely, it means the series converges for mod of x less than 1. Right? So one thing is clear, by applying ratio test, we have concluded that for mod of x less than 1, the series is converging. Now, what about the case when mod of x is greater than equal to 1? So let's first discuss what if mod of x is greater than 1, and then we will see that what happens if mod of x is equals to 1. Now you see, when mod of x is greater than 1, see, this is the nth term. Apply the nth term test for divergence. You see, limit n tending to infinity of this term un. Now we are saying that what if x mod of x is greater than 1? So you consider here that mod of x is say equals to 2, x is equals to 2. So you have 2 to the power n upon n, right? So you have 2 to the power n upon n. Then as you take n tending to infinity, the numerator will grow much faster than denominator, and this will tend to infinity. So we can say that because the nth term does not converge to 0, we can say that the series diverges, and this happens for all x mod of x greater than 1. Right? So what we have concluded so far, that for mod of x less than 1, the series converges. In fact, the series converges absolutely, and for mod of x greater than 1, the series diverges. Now the last case is what if mod of x is equals to 1. So we have two subcases, that when x is equals to 1 and when x is equals to minus 1. So whenever you are asked to check the behavior at the end points, you have to actually substitute x is equals to 1 here and minus 1 here in the series, and then see the behavior of the series. So at x is equals to 1, we get an alternating harmonic series 1 minus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3. So this is the alternating harmonic series. And we know that this alternating harmonic series is convergent. This is coming from Leibniz test. Okay, you need to specify that this is alternating harmonic series, and when you apply the Leibniz theorem, all the three conditions of the Leibniz theorem are satisfied, and hence we can say that the series converges. Okay. Then what if x is equals to minus 1? At x is equals to minus 1, this is minus 1 minus 1 by 2 minus 1 by 3. So basically this is negative of this series summation 1 by n. Now this series is a divergent series. This is by P series test. So every constant multiple of a divergent series again divergent. So this is the negative of the harmonic series and it diverges. Right? So we can conclude that the series converges for mod of x less than 1 and at x is equals to 1. So this is the interval in which the given series converges. Minus 1 is less than x is less than equals to 1. Right? So 1 is included in the interval of convergence and minus 1 is excluded. And it diverges elsewhere. Apart from these points, everywhere the series is going to diverge. Now you look here that at x is equals to 1, the series is an alternating harmonic series and it converges. At x is equals to 1, the series is a convergent one. And at x is equals to 1, the series is not absolutely convergent, right? The series is absolutely convergent only when mod of x is less than 1. So we can say here, although it is not asked, but you can conclude that at x is equals to 1, the series is converging but not absolutely, and hence we can say that the series converges conditionally at x is equals to 1. Right? So whichever conclusion you have made, you have to just specify that what your conclusion is. Once you are done with the problem, you're asked to find for what values of x do the following power series converge, and you have concluded that the given series converges for these values of x. So let's see next example. Again, the problem is the same. You have to find the values of x for which the series converge, and we will take different examples. So see this one, summation n going from 1 to infinity minus 1 raised to the power n minus 1 x raised to the power 2n minus 1 upon 2n minus 1. So it turned out to be this series. And again, say this is un, the nth term of the series, and we're gonna apply the ratio test on series of absolute values. So consider mod of un plus 1 upon mod of un, which will be equals to 2n minus 1 upon 2n plus 1, and here you have in un plus 1 you will have x raised to the power 2n plus 1 upon, in the denominator you will have x raised to the power 2n minus 1. So you have x square coming from here, and we have removed the modulus because n is positive and x square is going to be positive. So this is the value of this ratio. Now when you take limit as n tends to infinity, this will converge to this number x square because this limit will be equals to 1, right? So this number rho has turned out to be x square, and we know by ratio test the series converges when rho is less than 1. So when x square is less than 1, we say that the series, which series? The series of absolute values converges for x square less than 1, and hence we conclude that this series, the original series, converges absolutely for x square less than 1, and since absolute convergence implies convergence, so the given series converges for x square less than 1, right? Again, we consider the two cases, what if x square is greater than 1 and what if x square is equals to 1. So you see again, if x square is greater than 1, the nth term is not going to converge to 0, and hence we can say that the series diverges. In fact, this happens everywhere. Whichever number you get here, for that number less than 1, series converges. For that number greater than 1, series has to diverge, right? What if x square is equals to 1? So again, consider the two cases when x is equals to 1 and x is equals to minus 1. So when x is equals to 1, at x is equals to 1, the series is an alternating series, and you can use the alternating series test and conclude the convergence of this series. For x is equals to minus 1, again this is the alternating series, which is basically negative of the series you have here. So this again converges by alternating series test. So we conclude that the given series converges for these values of x. So basically closed interval minus 1 to 1 and diverges elsewhere, right? Next example, we have summation n going from 0 to infinity x to the power n upon n factorial. So this is the series. The nth term is un. Apply ratio test on the series of absolute values. Consider this ratio mod of un plus 1 upon un. So we have x to the power n plus 1 upon n plus 1 factorial divided by x to the power n into n upon n factorial. So this is 1, basically this cancels out. You have 1 by n plus 1, take it outside of modulus because it doesn't make any sense, and you have this one cancels out and you have mod of x. Now when you take the limit of this ratio as n tends to infinity, this number 1 upon n plus 1 is gonna go to 0, right? Irrespective of what value mod x is taking, every time this limit will turn out to be 0. So our number rho is equals to 0, and we say that this series converges for all values of x, right? By ratio test, we say that this series converges for all values of x because rho turned out to be a number less than 1. So the series has to converge by ratio test, right? So this series of absolute values converges for all values of x, and hence the original series converges absolutely for all values of x, and hence the given series converges for all values of x. Okay. Here we have summation n going from 0 to infinity, n factorial into x to the power n. So this is our nth term represented by un. Apply ratio test on the series of absolute values. So we have mod of un plus 1 upon un, which is equals to n plus 1 factorial x raised to the power n plus 1 upon n factorial into x to the power n. So these terms cancels out. You have n plus 1 here into mod of x. Now when you take the limit of this function as n tends to infinity, because of this term present as a numerator, this will tend to infinity, right? For any value of x, unless your x is equals to 0. If x is going to take value 0, in that case, even when you take limit n tending to infinity, this quantity will turn out to be 0. But otherwise, if x is not equals to 0, this term is going to go to infinity. So we can say only when x is equals to 1, in that case your rho will be equals to 0, which is strictly less than 1. So by ratio test, this series of absolute values converges only for x is equals to 0. And hence the series converges absolutely for x is equals to 0, or we can say that this series is convergent at x is equals to 0, and you can see when you substitute x is equal to 0, this series converges to 1. And what if x is not equals to 0? For any value of x not equals to 0, when you take the limit as n tend to infinity for the nth term, this will tend to infinity, and hence we can say since the nth term does not converge to 0, or by the nth term test for divergence, we conclude that this series diverges for all values of x except x is equals to 0. So this is the only dot on the real line where the series is converging, and everywhere else the series diverges. Next is, these are basically the steps that you need to follow or you should follow to test the convergence of a power series, right? So given a power series, if you're asked to test the convergence of the power series, then which way you should proceed? You must have understood the way by a couple of examples that we have discussed. That first step is to use the ratio test, or you can also use nth root test. Look at the terms of the series, whichever test is easy to apply, go for that test, right? So use the ratio test, but where are you using the ratio test? Not on this series summation un. You are using the root test or ratio test on this series of absolute values, right? So use the ratio test to find the interval where the series converges absolutely, right? Because if you apply your test on this series, this from here you will conclude the absolute convergence, right? So use the ratio test or nth root test to find the interval where the series converges absolutely, and in general we are writing that it will be this interval mod of x minus a less than r. You must have seen all the examples which we have done so far. You are getting this kind of interval, right? Or you are getting some point only. In last example we said at x is equals to 0 the series converges, otherwise not. So in general you will have an open interval, this one, where the series converges absolutely, right? This is the first step. Now if the interval of absolute convergence is finite, right? So suppose say x is lying between say from 0 to 2, so this is a finite interval. Suppose when you apply the ratio test and you said that this converges for all values of x, so basically this is infinite, right? That's how we are going to define finite. So we say that if the interval is finite, in that case what we are saying, test for the convergence or divergence at end points, right? Like we said that series come out to be, geometric series turn out to be absolutely convergent for mod of x less than 1, then we said okay, now we see the convergence at mod of x is equals to 1, means we consider the end points separately, right? So we see the convergence or divergence at end points, right? So you can use comparison test, integral test, alternating series test, whichever test you think is applicable that you can apply, right? Second step done. Step 3 is, if the interval of absolute convergence is a minus r is less than x is less than a plus r, then the series diverges for mod of x minus a greater than r. It does not even converge conditionally. Why? In step 1, when you applied the ratio test, you said you took the ratio of two consecutive terms and it turned out to be that the ratio of two consecutive terms is less than 1 for these values of x, right? When mod of x minus a is less than r. Now, if the mod of x minus a is greater than r, their ratio will turn out to be a number which is greater than 1. Also, it means whenever mod of x minus a is greater than r, you take any nth term of the series, it will have x minus a raised to the power n. So as the n is increasing, mod of x minus a to the power, it's going to get larger and larger. So you can conclude that the nth term will never approach to 0 for these values of x, right? So when you have this as the interval of convergence, you can directly conclude that for mod of x minus a greater than r, the series diverges. This will be the case. Okay, so this is how we test the power series for convergence. Apply ratio test or root test on the series of absolute values, get the interval of convergence, that this is the interval in which it is converging. Then if the interval of absolute convergence is finite, then test the convergence of the series on the end points, that is at x is equals to a minus r and x is equals to a plus r, right? And in step 3, if you have this as the interval of absolute convergence, the series will definitely diverge for these values of x in this range when mod of x minus a is greater than r. Next is the convergence theorem for power series, which says that if summation n going from 0 to infinity an into x to the power n converges for x is equals to c. If you are given this series, you substitute say x is equals to 1 by 2 and you see that this series converges at that value of c, then it converges absolutely for all values of x for which mod of x is less than mod of c. And likewise, if the series diverges for x is equals to d, then it diverges for all x for which mod of x is greater than mod of d, right? The proof can be seen in the book Thomas and Finney, and this theorem will be used actually in solving the objective problems. That will be very helpful to conclude the convergence. You can just test the convergence at one particular point and then accordingly decide its interval of convergence, absolute convergence or divergence. Now we have already discussed the power series and its interval of convergence or the values of x for which it is converging. Now we are going to introduce two more terms, that is the radius of convergence and interval of convergence. But I hope that by now you already have an idea what an interval of convergence is. Let's see the possible behavior of this series and let's introduce these terms, the radius and interval of convergence. There is a positive number r, so this is a positive number r such that the series diverges for mod of x minus a greater than r but converges absolutely for mod of x minus a less than r, right? The series may or may not converge at either of the endpoints. As we saw in the examples, on the endpoints the behavior could be different. So this is the possible behavior. One possible behavior is you will have, when you apply the ratio test or nth root test, you have R a positive number such that the series converges absolutely when mod of x minus a is less than R and diverges when mod of x minus a is greater than R. This is one case. The other case could be that series converges absolutely for all values of x. So we say in that case R is infinity. So we have introduced here that if the series converges absolutely for all values of x, means R is infinite. Third case is the series converges only at a point x is equals to a and diverges elsewhere. So we say R is equals to 0. Its radius of convergence is 0. It is converging only at this point. So R is called the radius of convergence of the power series, and the interval of radius R centered at a, this a, is called the interval of convergence. The interval of convergence may be open, closed or half open depending upon the particular series. So let's witness all these facts with the help of examples which we have discussed so far. So let's see this example. The first example we did, where this was the conclusion we made, that the series converges for -1 less than x less than equals to 1 and diverges elsewhere. This was the first problem discussed, right? There we wrote the conclusion this way. Now that we have introduced the terms, we will use them. First is the series converges absolutely for mod of x less than 1. One thing. So you can write it as mod of x minus 0 is less than 1, and you can see that this was a general pattern, that mod of x minus a is less than R. The first type of behavior, when we said that the series can behave this way, that it converges absolutely when mod of x minus a is less than R and it diverges when mod of x minus a is greater than R, right? So from here you can say that R, your radius of convergence, is 1, right? And a, this would be the center of convergence, 0. Here we said that radius of convergence of the power series and the interval of convergence is centered at x is equals to a. That you can see from here, that the interval will be from -1 to 1, so the center would be x is equals to 0, right? So this is the interval of absolute convergence. What about the interval of convergence? Interval of convergence could be different from interval of absolute convergence. So here we said that the given series converges at this endpoint x is equal to 1, also it turned out to be convergent. So the interval of convergence is -1 less than x less than equals to 1. And you see this is half open, half closed, open from left hand and closed from right hand. That we said that interval of convergence could be anything, half open, half closed, or open or closed depending upon the particular series. And what about x is equals to 1? You see, at x is equals to 1, the series is converging, but at x is equals to 1, it is not converging absolutely. So we say that the series converges conditionally at x is equals to 1. Okay, so the same problem, but it depends how the question is asked. If you are asked that test the series and conclude what is the interval of absolute convergence, then you must write this way, and or what are the points, what are the values of x for which the series converges conditionally, then you have to go this way. Okay, so you can just revisit all the examples and then conclude accordingly. Next is term by term differentiation. So we said in the very beginning that the power series can be differentiated. Now the question is, can we differentiate the power series term by term to get another power series? Yes, the answer is yes. The power series can be differentiated term by term, but not on the whole domain X. It can be differentiated term by term at each interior point of its interval of convergence. This should be satisfied so that the behavior of the series will remain the same. See, what do I mean by the behavior of the series? Means if the series is converging, and if I differentiate it term by term, then the resultant series should also be converging, right? And for that we have to stick to the points which are lying inside its interval of convergence. See here, if summation Cn x minus a to the power n converges for a minus r is less than x is less than a plus r, so basically this is the interval of convergence for some r greater than 0, if it defines the function f which is equals to fx is equals to this series, right? So we are saying that this infinite power series is equals to this function for these values of x. Then such a function f has derivatives of all orders inside the interval of convergence. If this is the case, that this infinite power series is equals to this function fx, then such function fx has all the derivatives of all orders, means you'll be able to define the first derivative, the second derivative, the third derivative, where inside its interval of convergence, means for all values of x lying here. And the derivatives, how can we obtain the derivatives? The derivatives can be obtained by differentiating the original series, this one, term by term. So f dash x will be equals to n Cn times x minus a raised to the power n minus 1. Here you see that this index, this n varies from 1 to infinity. Earlier we had n from 0 to infinity. So the first term was c0. Then the second term was c1 into x minus a. So when you take the first derivative, the derivative of c0 will be equals to 0. So the first term in this series will start from n is equals to 1. Likewise, when you take the second derivative, you have n multiplied by n minus 1 into Cn into x minus a raised to the power n minus 2, where n starts from 2 to infinity, because in second derivative, the first two terms from here for n is equal to 0 and for n is equals to 1 are not going to contribute. Their derivative will be equals to 0. And so on, we keep on going like this. A very important point here is, we can obviously differentiate term by term, but each of these derived series, these converges at every interior point of the interval of convergence, means you have differentiated, no problem, but its behavior also is not changing. If the original series was converging in this interval, in the interior of this interval, then the derived series, the first derivative, second derivative, or any ordered derivative, that also converges at every interior point of the interval of convergence, right? So let's see an example. Find the series for f dash x and f double dash x if fx is equals to 1 upon 1 minus x is equals to 1 plus x plus up to so on, going like this, and this is when mod of x is less than 1. Right? So what will be f dash x? F dash x will be equals to derivative of this one is 0, derivative of x is 1, derivative of x square is 2x, and in general the nth term derivative is n into x raised to the power n minus 1. Now when you put this term in the form of a summation, you have n into x raised to the power n minus 1, and you see that here n starts from 1. When you substitute n is equals to 1, you will have the corresponding term 1. When you substitute n is equal to 2, you will have this term. So take care of this index, that here n starts from 1. Likewise, f double dash x will be equals to 2 upon 1 minus x whole cube, and likewise you have this series and this one. But the thing to note here is that every time you have to write this thing alongside, that for these values of x we are defining f dash x here, because this series, this infinite series is equals to this sum. It makes sense for these values of x. It could be the case that if you go for any other values of x, this series may not be convergent, and it may not be equals to some finite sum. It is equals to some finite number, some sum, when x is lying in this interval. you need to be cautious here that term by term differentiation might not work for other kinds of series. For example, the trigonometric series, this one, converges for all x. This you can test. Take the series of absolute values and each term will be less than equals to 1 by n square, and this series converges by p series test. So you can conclude the convergence of this series. So the trigonometric series converges for all x, but if we differentiate it term by term, we get this series summation n going from 1 to infinity. Derivative of this one is cos n factorial x into n factorial upon n square, and this series will turn out to be divergent for all values of x. This you can check by the nth term test for divergence, right? So the behavior of the series, the original series, is convergent. When you differentiate it term by term, the resultant series is diverging. This is because the series under consideration is not a power series, and the term by term differentiation result which we have just said, it is applicable for power series, right? If it would have been a power series, then result would have definitely hold. Next is term by term integration. Suppose that fx is equals to summation n going from 0 to infinity cn into x minus a raised to the power n. This converges for all values of x when a minus r is less than x is less than a plus r and r is some number greater than 0. Then this series, which is actually integration of this one, cn into x minus a raised to the power n plus 1 upon n plus 1, this converges for a minus r less than x less than a plus r, and this series, since it is converging, it is equals to some finite sum. We can say that this series is basically integral of this one will be equals to this plus c. This also converges for these values of x. So term by term integration theorem says that a power series can be integrated term by term throughout its interval of convergence. Okay, so let's see an example. A series for tan inverse x where x lies between -1 to 1. So the problem is to identify this function. So you are given this series expansion, and this series expansion is equals to some function fx for x lying between -1 to 1. So we have to identify this function. So let's differentiate this series. Because this is a power series, we can differentiate it term by term. So we'll get f dash x is equals to 1 minus 3 times of x square by 3. So minus x square, then plus x to the power 4 up to so on, and here x lies between -1 to 1. Now see here, in the given problem we had x lying between -1 to 1 where -1 and 1 are included, and here we have written x lies between -1 to 1. Now why this one? Why the endpoints are not included? Because the term by term differentiation theorem can only guarantee the convergence in the interior of the interval. We said that if this is the interval, then for every point which is inside the interval of convergence, for that these series are going to converge. See, notice that the original series converges at both endpoints of the original interval of convergence, but term by term differentiation theorem can guarantee the convergence of the differentiated series only inside the interval of convergence. Just have a look here. See, here we said that at every interior point, so you need to be very careful with this one, that the original power series may include the endpoints of the interval, but the differentiated series will be convergent only on the inside of the interval, right? So f dash x is equals to this one, and we know that this is a geometric series with first term 1 common ratio minus x square. So f dash x will be equals to, the sum is equals to a upon 1 minus r, and this is 1 upon 1 plus x square. Now we want to find what is this function. Now you can integrate this one. right? So integrate this one. On integrating f dash x is equals to this, for x lying between -1 to 1, we have integral of this one is equals to integral of dx upon 1 plus x square. Why this one? Because the sum of this series is a upon 1 minus r is this quantity. So integrating here you have this one, on integrating here you have this integration, so dx upon 1 plus x square, and this is equals to tan inverse x plus a constant of integration c. Now we know that what is the value of fx at x is equals to 0. So you take the value at f is equals to 0, it will be equals to 0. So this is equals to f of x. So f of x is equals to tan inverse x plus c. When x is equals to 0, fx is equals to 0, so it will turn out that c is equals to 0. So it means fx is equals to this tan inverse x plus 0, and hence we see that this series expansion is for tan inverse x, and this is for x lying between -1 to 1. So here we have not included the points -1 and 1, but at later stage in maybe next section we will see that for x is equals to -1 and 1 also this series converges. But for now we cannot conclude that. With the help of this term by term differentiation and integration theorem, we can conclude this much. Next is multiplication of power series. Now next question is, till now we have differentiated a power series term by term without changing its behavior inside its interval of convergence. Likewise, we have integrated also the power series without changing its behavior. The next question is, can we multiply the power series like we generally multiply the polynomial, say 1 plus x square multiplied by 1 minus x square? Can we multiply these polynomials like that, because these are infinite polynomials? So the answer is yes, but there is a class of power series for which we can do that. That class is absolutely converging power series. So we can multiply absolutely converging power series the way we generally multiply polynomials, and the resultant power series that we obtain after multiplying absolutely converging power series will also be absolutely convergent. So its behavior is also not changing. So let's see the series multiplication theorem for power series. If ax is equals to this infinite series and bx is equals to this one, so ax and bx both are power series and about x is equals to 0, and we know that the both of them converge absolutely for mod of x less than r. And how we are defining Cn? Cn is a0 into bn plus a1 into bn minus 1 up to so on an into b0. So basically the sum of these products, product of these two, taking sum of these. How we are taking that? Because we are constructing this series summation n going from 0 to infinity Cn into x to the power n, where this series is the product of these two series. So what will be the coefficient of x to the power n? That is Cn. So from here you have a0 into x to the power 0, and here you have bn into x to the power n. So the coefficient will be a0 times bn. Then the second term from here will be a1 into x to the power 1, and last but one term from here is bn minus 1 into x raised to the power n minus 1. So you will have a1 from here and bn minus 1 from here, and likewise you keep on going like this. So you have total n plus 1 terms, right? So Cn, where we have this series, Cn are the coefficients of this series, summation n going from 0 to infinity Cn into x to the power n converges absolutely to ax into bx for mod of x less than r. And so basically we can see that this series ax multiplied by this series bx is another series whose coefficients are Cn, and the resultant series is also converging absolutely in this interval mod of x less than r. Okay, so let's see an example. multiply the geometric series summation n going from 0 to infinity xn for mod of x less than 1 by itself. So you are multiplying this by itself, so 1 upon 1 minus x, to get a power series for 1 upon 1 minus x whole square for this one. Okay, so very easily consider ax to be equals to this series and bx also to be equal to this series, and we know that both ax and bx converges absolutely for mod of x less than 1, and define your cn's. Cn will be equals to a naught times, so basically what will be the coefficient of x to the power n? It is 1 multiplied by x to the power n will give you x to the power n, then x multiplied by x to the power n minus 1 will give you x to the power n, then x square multiplied by, so go forward here and go backward here, so these n plus 1 terms will give you the coefficient of x to the power n, and since each ai and bi is equals to 1, so you have 1 plus 1 plus 1 n plus 1 times, so this is n plus 1, so cn is n plus 1. Now that we have calculated cn by series multiplication theorem, the product of the two series ax into bx will be equals to this series whose coefficients are cn's. So this is equals to n going from 0 to infinity. Cn is n plus 1 into x to the power n. So we have 1 plus 2x plus 3x square plus up to so on. This one is the multiplication of the geometric series by itself, and the resultant series also converges in mod of x less than 1, and this is the series expansion for 1 upon 1 minus x whole square. So this is the series expansion for this function, which converges absolutely for mod of x less than 1. Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.